Back here on Chicago Sports Overtime, Tina Nguyen hanging out with you and the Athletics. Ted Nguyen joining us as well. Ted, Bears coming off a 31-14 victory over the Cowboys, where Caleb Williams had a productive day. 298 yards, 4 TDs. Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams found more of a rhythm together. 8 different guys saw the ball. We saw creativity, we saw structure, and of course, plenty of offensive playmakers. What's the biggest difference, though, you're seeing in this Ben Johnson offense compared to the one in Detroit?
Yeah, I think they're doing a much more intentional job of pushing the ball downfield with Detroit, with Jared Goff and the weapons they have there. A lot of it was predicated on getting yards after the catch. So you saw a bunch of choice routes, a bunch of shorter routes. But with Caleb Williams, with the guy with his arm talent, Roma Dunze, who is a deep intermediate type of receiver, they're pushing the ball downfield. Caleb Williams is averaging 8.9 air yards per attempt, whereas Jared Goff in the years with Ben Johnson only averaged about 6 air yards per attempt. So it's a much more downfield attack, and it just makes sense with the type of talent that the Bears have.
Caleb looked more comfortable getting in and out of the huddle there. Ben Johnson said that's what impressed him. The operation was cleaner. The O-line as well did a pretty good job at protecting him. But what impressed you most about him from week 3?
Yeah, I think what's been impressive about even in the first 2 weeks is that he's just being very intentional with trying to stay within the structure of the offense, going through his reads, staying in the pocket. And, even though those first 2 weeks were messy as far as just the overall game result, you could see him trying to do that against the Lions. He only played outside of structure 4 times, and 2 of those times were on 2nd and 30 plus. And everything else, he was just trying to go through his reads, and that's exactly what Ben Johnson wants. I think he could be a little quicker. He's still top 3 in average time to throw, but part of that is the type of plays that are being called. There's some routes that take a little bit longer to develop, but I like his progress so far, and you can just see the types of throws that he can make from within the pocket, the zip he could put on the ball, some of the windows he could hit. It's just rare. And a good example of that is that big throw to Luther Burden. That's a type of throw that only a few quarterbacks in the league could make, and he did it from within the pocket.
Do you think we've been too hard on Caleb Williams?
No, I mean, I think, just the way that he's played for a number 1 pick has warrant some criticism. I mean, you would expect a lot more from a guy that's picked number 1. But to his credit, he's taken the coaching from Ben Johnson, and you see these improvements week by week. And it's got to be pretty exciting for Chicago because, just the game that he had against the Cowboys where he kind of put it all together, and there's obviously more progress to be made. But I think he's further along in the development in this offense than I thought he would be at this point.
Okay. Well, one area of improvement that the Bears need is, of course, running the ball. They ran the ball 29 times. A couple were scrambles by Caleb himself. DeAndre Swift, 2.5 yards a carry. Kyle Monangai, 2.7 yards a carry. DJ Moore, 2.3. But, I mean, Ted, come on. They got to do a better job at running the ball, right?
Yeah, I mean, we saw what the Lions did against the Ravens last night on Monday Night Football. This offense is built around being able to run the ball and create explosives, but they're struggling to even get a regular ground game going, a baseline run game going. But it's sort of perplexing because their yards before carry, which measures how many yards can the running back go before he gets touched, which is more of an offensive line measurement. They rank 9th in the NFL, 1.78 yards before contact. And as far as yards after carry contact, which is more of a measurement of the running back skill, they rank 29th, 2.37 yards after contact only. So the running backs have to do a better job of maximizing what's there. I don't know if Monangai is going to be that guy or Swift is going to be that guy, or they're going to have to wait till next year to really upgrade the running back talent. But that's going to be a thing to watch as the season goes along. And I also like that they're mixing in some zone reads with Caleb Williams and getting him involved in a run game as well. Obviously, Ben Johnson's not going to do that with Jared Goff, but I think it's a smart solution to start getting Caleb Williams involved in a run game. Obviously, he needs to avoid big hits, but if he can do that, I think that's going to help the run game a lot.
You got DeAndre Swift, Kyle Monangai, but why? Why have they struggled so much to run the football? Is it the offensive
Well,
line
I
not
think
protecting, or is it talent? Is it?
Yeah, I think there are times when the offensive line has some breakdowns and these guys get hit in the backfield. But as I said, the Bears are ranked ninth overall in yards before contact, so there is some space for the running backs there. I think DeAndre Swift is just a guy that's never been great with his vision, and he's
Okay.
been a guy that's more of a speed athlete at the running back position more than a running back that can be patient and set up defenders and that sort of thing. And Manungai is a rookie, so it's going to take some time to get used to the NFL, learn the blocking schemes and that sort of deal. So to me, it's a vision thing, and just they need a little bit more from the running back position.
Let's talk about this week, because guess what? The Bears head to Las Vegas, and they are a 1.5-point underdog against the Raiders. Chicago looking, of course, for their second win, their first road victory, while Pete Carroll and the Raiders look to end a 2-game skid. What can the Bears exploit against Las Vegas?
Well, from a defensive perspective, the Raiders have one of the worst offensive lines in football, if not the worst offensive lines in football. And I know that the Bears have struggled to rush the passer, but if you can't rush the passer against this Raiders offensive line, then you really have to be worried. And also from a running game perspective, even though they drafted Ashton Gentile sixth overall, they haven't been able to block for him. So you could stop the run with your front without adding extra guy to the box, and you should be able to rush the passer. They kind of struggle with blitzes as well and picking up games like stunts. So you could do that against them. And from a defensive perspective, the Raiders came into the Commanders game ranked fifth in defensive success rate against the run, but they got just pummeled against the Commanders' run option game. I mentioned that they started Ben Johnson started involving Caleb Williams in the running game. I think that could be a point that they could exploit against that Raiders defense.
Yeah, Geno Smith was sacked 5 times there, so the Raiders O-line certainly a weak point for them. Last question for you, Ted. Give me a matchup that you are watching for on Sunday.
Yeah, I think it's going to be that Bears pass rush against this Raiders offensive line. Um, I mean, they just struggle with stunts and that sort of deal. So I think if they call those sort of games where you're getting defensive tackles and defensive ends looping and calling some blitzes with those linebackers, it's going to be tough for the Raiders to pick up. So that's something I'll be watching out for.
Ted Nguyen, who covers the Raiders and just overall the NFL for The Athletic, thank you so much for your time. We always love your insights.
Thanks for having me on.